Hi. I'm so grateful this found you. I absolutely love coming outside and looking up at the night sky. I really hope that you're able to see it and that it's catching on my phone. It always uplifts my spirits and makes me feel even closer to the universe, which I feel particularly close to, especially tonight. I actually had a wild experience the moment that my dog and I came out here before I even walked out into the darkness to make this video for you, that I will actually splice in here if you're able to see it, if it picked up on my camera. It always brings me so much joy looking at the night sky and sunrises and sunsets. So I actually come out here and look up at it as many times as I can every night. And I hope that the beauty of it uplifts your spirits as it does mine. And also I thought that the darkness would be kind of on point for this, or on theme rather, for this video. It's especially beautiful out here because there isn't any light pollution. As you can see, it's dark AF out here. Now I'm back at the sky again. I really hope that the stars are picking up on the camera. But I wanted to make this video to tell you, don't give up. Please don't give up. Just do not give up. You can do nothing if you want to. Just do nothing and just ride it out and just wait. But don't take action to give up. That is the one thing that essentially is the end all to our experience, you know? Don't opt out of the experience, especially not right now. We are in the most epic, great times of history right now. This is the event that everybody who's here right now, which is everybody, this is the event we all came for. And things tend to get harder the closer you are to actually experiencing what you actually came here for. So don't give up right now. If things are especially hard right now, that's the clearest indicator that you can have that you're actually close to everything finally getting better. You're finally gonna step past the really hard times. Ooh. Oh, what an epic night. Oh. I'm trying to be as fast and efficient as possible, as always, because I really, really value your time. But it's hard to stay focused. This has been a wild night already. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all my experiences. Oh my goodness. This is literally below the tree line. Oh my goodness, dude. What a night. What a night. Okay. If this isn't message for you to not give up, I really don't know what could possibly be. Truthfully, man. Seriously. You have to know and really know it, how important you are. And I had all these awesome words planned before I came out here to prove to you how important you are, but I don't even know anything that could prove it more than what I've already captured. But I will splice in what happened when my dog and I first came out here, and then regroup. Oh wow. Praise be. Oh my goodness. Wow. Ooh, look at this. This is extra special. Proving again that it was the right choice to come out here. Oh my goodness, it just changed direction. Whoa. And it just disappeared. I wish you could see the night sky better on my camera. I apologize for that. But I guess in a lot of ways what has been captured on the camera is even more epic than a breathtaking night sky. But it really is just so beautiful, and I hope that at least some of the stars are picking up for you, but I'm not really seeing them. But it might be because I'm kind of blinded by the screen of my phone because it's so dark out here. But at least if you can't see it, then you can just relax and just listen to this very important message and not have to hold your phone or even your eyes open, if you're not watching on a mobile device. And honestly, this message is only important because you are so important. There literally is only one of you, and you truly are the only being that can be you. And even if it doesn't feel like it right now, you are actually living the life that you asked for. When you were created, you actually asked to be you. And the creator that created you actually gave you what you asked for and gave you your life that you asked for and made you you and made everyone else them. And so just like we can't really be them, no one else can really be you. You're the only one that can actually live the life that you asked for. And no matter how people, places, things, and experiences have tried to make you feel, and even if they convinced you that you don't deserve good things or you're not worthy, you truly are. If you weren't, the Creator wouldn't have given you the life that you asked for. The Most High God gave you your life. No one can say that you don't deserve it and aren't worthy of it. It's your life that was given to you by God. And when I say God, I'm referring to prime source creator energy that created everything. So if you're here right now as you are and you're watching this and hearing this, then you were created by something. That's the energy that I'm referring to when I talk about God. So I know that God is different in every language, and there's many, many, many names for God, many names. And I'm talking about the Most High God of infinite light, the prime source creator being that created everything, the one that created you, okay? And just for ease of communication and time, I'm just going to say God. So God created you and gave you your life. And believe it or not, even the more challenging experiences that you're going through right now, and I know that this found you for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And human beings do not connect if not for a good reason. Especially me right now. I'm so deep in isolation. It's been well over 1.5 years that I've been deep in isolation. I simply don't connect with other energies at all, if not for good reason. So this found you for good reason. And it's most likely because you're going through a really hard time right now. And as much as I wouldn't take it back because I know it's necessary, I am sorry. I'm sorry for what you're going through right now. And I just want you to know that you are loved. And even if you say, well, you don't even know me, I do. We do. We know each other. Our energies all knew each other before we began this experience. And that's why I'm connecting right now in a particularly important time for you. So if you don't mind, please give me some of your precious time and just step back from the theoretical ledge as it is for just a little while, and please just hear me out. Because I want you to know that you are loved. You are loved. Even if you don't have anyone around you right now that makes you feel loved, it of course makes sense that you wouldn't feel loved because you're most likely in a really low frequency right now, and you've most likely been stripped away or torn away from most of the beings that were in your experience before. So you're probably feeling very physically alone at the moment. So you probably don't feel love because you're probably alone, and if you're not, you probably have a lot of beings around you that are in the process of being stripped away that really don't even know how to show love, so they're probably not showing you love. But just because in this very moment right now, maybe you didn't feel loved, doesn't mean that you're not, okay? You are unconditionally loved, and even more so, all of the parts of you are unconditionally loved. And you're never alone. The low frequency material bands of this existence, everything's inverted in those bands of existence, okay? So when you're in the lower frequencies, you're in the world that is an inverted world. So everything is perverted and basically turned into lies, okay? And one of those biggest lies that I feel like is so damaging is saying that we're all born into this world and we're all born into this world alone and we leave it alone. That's not true. The way that creation occurs is that the creator being puts its energy and time into creating what it's creating. And that can be any and all of the things that we create, right? So you can create a thing or a business or even another human being, right? So like it takes 9 months for a woman to form a baby in her womb, right? That's a lot of time and energy put into creating something, right? And you might, work for years or decades on a business that you create or a book that you write. There's so many different things that you can create with your bare hands and your time and your energy and your mind, right? And you put that time and energy into that, and that's why they say it's like you put your life and soul into something, right? You do in a way, because you're putting some of your creator energy into that thing, and that's how you create it, okay? So when God created you, it put some of its energy into creating you, right? And then if you want to take it a step further than that, add another 9 months onto that, right? It only spent 7 days creating this whole material realm, right? But 9 months creating you. So how much more important are you than this whole planet then, if you want to look at it from that perspective, right? Which there's a lot we can get into on that, a lot of different perspectives on that, but you get the point that I'm trying to make, the reference that I'm making. 9 months is a long time for God to focus on you, right? And, after creating you and putting some of its life force creation energy into you to create you, it also put its breath into you to give you life and to make you breathe, right? And to keep you alive, right? So quite literally, some of God is in you. As a human having a physical experience in this realm, some of God is in you. So there's never a single moment in your life where you're actually alone, because God is always with you, especially during your hardest moments. It doesn't just dip out like, oh, I'm actually not going to experience this. This is terrible, right? No. It's with you 100% of the time for your entire life from start to finish, especially the hardest moments. And even if it's repercussions that you're facing that are a direct result of your own free will choices that you made, God doesn't dip out like, oh, I'm not going to experience this too. No, it experiences that too. And even when you're facing your most challenging experiences meant to grow you and evolve you, God's with you then too. So even if you're having, what you most likely are, having one of your hardest experiences of your life right now, know that God is always within you. So you are never alone, because the Almighty God is actually within you, okay? But also, no one else can do what you came here to do. So you likely have had denser energies, try to attack you through many different means, maybe all different means possible, to try to either take your experience from you or just prevent you from having that experience. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but it all proves how important and valuable you are. Because, for one, no one would want to try to take your life if you didn't have awesome, epic blessings in the future for you incoming on your higher frequency timeline. Because why would they want it, right? They only want it because it's most likely better than theirs, right? But they can't really take it because you're the only one that can really live it. But you're just not living it at this exact moment if you're having a particularly challenging experience right now, because those challenging experiences happen on the lower frequency timelines, because everything is sorted by frequency in this experience. And the way that that sorting happens is that we're essentially thrown down onto the floor and lashed apart from everything that we're holding on to, or everything that's still holding on to us in our life, people, places, and things that aren't a frequential match for us, that aren't from our higher frequency timeline experience, and that's how we're separated and sorted, right? So sortings have to happen in order for us to be able to have the higher frequency timeline experiences that we actually came here for. Oh my goodness, wow, a lot of stuff going on tonight. I'm really trying to stay focused. I'm sorry, you guys. This is way below the tree line. It's too dark for you to see the trees, but like this is way below the tree line. Like this is not a plane. Like, so just the whole universe is coming in to support me and saying that you are never alone. We're never alone. And you're so important. Okay, you're just having one of those moments that can be referred to as a dip, or the dark night of the soul, which is why I wanted to be out here initially in the darkness to share the beautiful night sky with you, you know, in total darkness, because you're most likely in darkness right now, right? And also to teach you that valuable resource of the fact that, because I didn't know before I experienced it the first time, that these experiences are actually referred to and known as the dark night of the soul. So if you search online for the dark night of the soul, you're gonna have a bunch of other videos and helpful information come up to help explain to you kind of what you're going through right now. But I wanted to share it from my own perspective with some different analogies that I came up with, because it particularly was helpful to me to be able to explain it in words, and also from a physical perspective, because these are really complex topics that can be challenging to explain from a physical perspective, and that's how you're viewing it most likely, is from, you know, your physical eyes and with your physical brain, right? So the dark night of the soul is necessary, and you know, I really like the quote, "It's always darkest just before dawn," because it really reminds me whenever I'm experiencing particularly challenging experiences, especially when the onslaught got particularly challenging and dark for me, which the onslaught is another term that you can search, and that basically is just a name to put on the trials and tribulations that we experience before we actually start to rise, right? And when things were particularly dark, I knew that it was just, you know, a sign that they were going to get particularly bright in the future and way better, and to just hold on and to just ride it out with faith, knowing that it's going to get better, you know, because it's always darkest right before dawn, you know. And adversaries tend to try to attack you and derail you from your path that you're supposed to be on when you get the closest to it, right? So when you're the closest to finally up leveling, that's when you're more likely to have a lot more stuff start to kind of rain down on you, right? Like a storm, the onslaught, right? And it's because you're really close. You're really close to everything getting better. So don't give up when you're the closest. This is probably the closest that you've ever been. I mean, it is the closest that you've ever been, because you're always going forward. So this is the closest that you've ever been. You've never been closer than you are right now. And you're going to continue getting closer if you just don't give up, right? So the analogy that I came up with, and my soul sister Kat, she's so sweet. She actually made a whole channel in our Discord server, which is called The Lighthouse, called The 13th Floor. And it's literally a place for me to describe and explain like my downloads and different analogies that I came up with to explain and describe this experience, because it's so complex, and honestly it's really, really hard to put into writing, and so I haven't figured out how to explain or share too many of them in there yet. Maybe I'll ask her if I can share these videos in there, because the best way that I've come up with to share these analogies is really, you know, verbally, like in a video. But so the 13th floor, right, she came up with that after I first explained this analogy that I'm about to share right now. And it was because I kept sharing it repeatedly, because different things kept coming up in the experience, that the best way that I could explain it verbally was this concept. And I like to call it the cosmic elevator, okay? So we all have access and free will to choose to get into, and we do. We just don't see it from this perspective. But this is a way to look at what's happening from a physical perspective, but it's actually happening in the astral realm, in the spiritual plane, right? And so it most likely doesn't look like an elevator, but if you want to look at something from a physical perspective, you could look at it like an elevator, okay? We all have our own free will to get into a cosmic elevator at any time that we want to. And that basically is the physical perspective of you making a micro choice or a major conscious choice to actually choose to change your frequency, okay? And when you change frequency and either go up or down in frequency, then you're actually, if you stay on that new frequency for long enough, then you're actually changing paths. And now you've actually changed timelines, essentially. And now you're actually living in a different timeline or a different floor, per have you. Sorry, it's kind of distracting being out here in the dark. I wish that you could see the stars better. The stars are so beautiful. Yeah, but I don't think it's picking up on my phone. I apologize for that. There's just so much going on right now tonight. So at any time, you can get into that cosmic elevator and get off on a different floor if you want to, right? And those are all the different timelines, which are sorted by frequency, because everything is sorted by frequency. And frequency is a scientifically measurable trait that all living things have at all times, okay? But no living thing can be in more than one frequency at once. And in the past, it was all chaos, okay? But now the Great Awakening is happening and the sorting is happening. So whenever new sortings happen, basically all of the wheats and tares are separated. And, that's just a way of saying the harvest that came from the seeds that you sowed, and basically weeds and things that came in that aren't what you sowed, that wasn't what you were planning on harvesting, right? And something that's really interesting about that is that when the seedlings begin to grow from the plants that you actually sowed seeds for and weeds that ended up mixed in with them, you can't actually tell from looking at the outside when they're little baby seedlings. You can't actually tell the difference between the two. And I like, that analogy and that fact because it's similar with humans. When you look at a human from the outside, they look the same, right? You can't really tell at first just from looking. I mean, sometimes you can, but most of the time you can't really tell at first from looking at another human whether they're a frequential match to you or a polarity to you, right? Because on the outside, we look the same, right? So these sortings happen to separate us because right now we're giving order to the chaos of the past. So in the past, there was chaos and everything was mixed in together, like the wheats and the tares, right? That's also called quantum entanglement, if you want to look into that. And now we're having all of these sortings in order to separate us and sort us so that we're once again in order of frequency, so that there's order in the world, right? And when that happens, it can be, and it does, get increasingly rough, per se, depending on how hard you're holding on to the things that actually aren't a frequential match for you, or how much you're resisting being separated and sorted from them, okay? And it starts off more like a gentle nudge, and then it, progresses more to being like thrown on the floor, per se, and then, lashed apart, as they would do to sort a harvest of a field that was harvested of, like grain to eat, and also weeds that need to be separated from there, but that are tangled up together, okay? And so if you want to look at it in a physical way, like if you had a bowl of two different things, okay, and you gently shook that bowl and you start the shaking, that's why they also call these shakings, right? And you start shaking the bowl gently, the two different things are going to just naturally sort themselves by density, and whatever is more dense will sink to the bottom, and whatever's less dense will rise to the top. And that's essentially what's happening with these shakings with all of the different humans here right now. We're just naturally untangling ourselves and sorting by frequency, okay? So if you're going through a particularly hard time right now, you're most likely, in your dark night of the soul or another dip, which is just part of this process. And the way that I viewed it is that, like I said, it's always darkest just before dawn, right? So basically you're in that cosmic elevator and you step out onto the floor that you thought you were going to step out onto, but you end up finding out that you're actually in a new basement. And by new basement, I mean a new low that's even lower than before, that feels even darker than the last time that you went to the bottom floor, right? And the way that I see that is sort of like an initiation or a rite of passage per se. Not really an initiation, but more of like that's just what you go through to be granted access to the new penthouse floor, right? And that's what it is. You can just get out, acknowledge and see, oh, I'm in the new basement right now, and then just turn right around, get right back into the cosmic elevator, knowing that you've now gained access to the new penthouse floor, which is the new top floor on the top frequency, the new best timeline, right? Or the sacred timeline just got even better, and now you have access to it because you survived the new basement. And you have to survive the new basement first to know that there's now a new penthouse, and remember who you are and how this works, to know you just got to get back into that cosmic elevator and go up to the new penthouse floor that you now have access to. But you most likely feel really overwhelmed while you're down on that lower floor because everything is sorted by frequency. So when you get out onto the new basement per se, okay, not only do you feel this false perception of being separated from God, which is the worst feeling. God is still within you, but you just don't hear him or see him with your mind's eye anymore because you're separated from him, because you're not in alignment with him anymore, because you're in low frequency instead of high frequency. You're no longer embodying your highest self because you're not in high frequency. And you're not actually with most of your spirit guides anymore because you're not in high frequency anymore. And you're connected when you're in alignment, and you have to be in a high frequency to be in alignment with most of those beings, right? So you don't feel the support of your support team from your spirit guides because you're in that low frequency. But in addition to that, you're down there with everything that does match that frequency. So all of the other beings that are of that lower frequency are there, but also everything you have within you that still needs to be healed that matches that frequency is also there. So you're feeling the perceived separation of the higher frequency people, places, and things and beings and whatnot, but you're also being surrounded by the lower frequency, which makes it seem like all that there is in the experience is the lower frequency, but that's not true. That's just all that's on that floor. So all you have to do is just turn around and get back in your cosmic elevator and just go back up to the higher frequency and actually just hit penthouse level and go all the way back up to the top floor, because by surviving this experience, you just gained access to the new penthouse, which is even better than the penthouse before it because it's even higher in frequency, okay? Then you're going to be, back in alignment with the Creator and your spirit guides and embodying your highest self and on your sacred timeline. And that's where all the good, I don't really like words like good and bad, but just for simplicity to try to say this as fast as I can, that's where all of the higher frequency experiences that you signed up for are. That's your sacred timeline path. There's really two paths, but the gray area in between is vast, okay? But you're really choosing between your highest timeline path and your lowest timeline path, or getting closer to one or the other with your choices, right? And so all of the really epic, positive, high frequency experiences that you came here for, they're on that path. And your purpose and your mission and side quests and all that stuff, you do all of that stuff as your higher self, embodying your higher self. So that's why you need to survive this and go back, rise back up, so that you can do all that stuff that no one but you can do. You're the only one that can do it, because those are specific parts of your experience that you chose, that are done by you and no one else, and happen on your sacred timeline path. So it would be a devastation to the world to lose you, because no one else can do what you came to do. But also, you're the only one that is worthy and does deserve to do those things, because you're you. God gave those blessings to you and made that path for you. So no one deserves it or is worthy of doing it except for you, or else he would have given it to them if they were more worthy or more deserving than you. But he didn't. He gave it to you because you deserve it and you are worthy. That's what you went through all those challenging experiences for, is all these epic blessings that are incoming in your future now. And you just have to keep going. Just keep going and just don't give up. And you will eventually work your way to that sacred timeline path. You just have to release the people, places, and things that are in your experience that aren't a frequential match for your sacred timeline path, to make room. And then once there's room, then the people, places, and things that do match the frequency of your sacred timeline path will keep coming in. And that tells the universe, and that tells God, I'm ready. I don't want to mess around with these lower frequency experiences anymore. I'm ready for my high frequency experiences, and to show that in the physical form, I'm not going to accept anything less. I'm not going to settle for these lower frequency people, places, and things anymore, because that's not what I want. I don't want that anymore. I learned my lessons from that stuff, and I don't need to experience it anymore. I graduated those classes. And believe it or not, the challenging experiences you experience, you actually signed up for that too. And maybe not the specifics. You probably didn't know the specifics of how it was going to go. And if you're experiencing something particularly traumatic right now, you probably wouldn't have asked specifically for that, because no one would. But what you did ask for was the evolutionary growth that happens on a soul level when you have those challenging experiences. Because if everything started off good, and you were born into heaven on earth, and the whole experience was just heaven on earth the whole time, none of us would have grown or evolved on a soul level, because you don't from high frequency experiences. You evolve on a soul level from having challenging experiences. And we all came to Earth School ultimately to grow on a soul level. So that's what I mean by saying that we all asked for the experiences that we have, because we asked for the evolutionary growth that we gained from this experience. And also, when we asked for our higher frequency experiences, that was indirectly also asking for us to grow and evolve on a soul level, to become the being that we need to be able to live those other experiences. Like, you have to actually embody your highest self to be able to have those other more positive experiences that you did ask for. And you get that by surviving the onslaught of challenging experiences that comes first. And that's what happens in the dark night of the soul. And I've noticed ever since my initial big dark night of the soul that you do continue to have smaller dark nights of the soul. And I view those as dips, or, additional dark nights of the soul. And when you have those dips, the main thing with that lesson is just to acknowledge it and see it as a dip, and not let it disrupt your emotional body, not let it throw off your whole frequency, where you actually take on that frequency and stay on that floor and forget that you can get back in the elevator. But to acknowledge it as another dip and remain in that attitude of gratitude, where instead of being like, fuck, this is happening again, instead being like, thank you, and just express gratitude and say, yes, thank you so much, because there is an energetic cost for things in this realm as well. And there's balance too. And we pay the energetic cost for the higher frequency experience by experiencing and surviving the lower frequency experiences. And because of balance, the more negative or lower frequency challenging experiences that you experience in your onslaught and in your dips prior to, fully stepping into your season of abundance, where the whole rest of your experience is an abundance of blessings, every time you experience another one of those lower frequency challenging experiences, experiences and survive it, that's giving balance for yet another blessing to be added onto your future experience when you're on your sacred timeline firmly, where everything is just blessings of positive high frequency experiences. So if you look at it as no big deal, you are eternal, it's not really that big of a deal. You can get back into the elevator as soon as you remember that you can and that you have the power to do so, and you're ready. You get back in that elevator. When you get in there, that means that you now gained access to a new penthouse floor. That means that your highest timeline just got even better because of the energy that is now applied to the blessings on the opposite polarity of that, because there's always balance in this realm. So you just got to wait for the pendulum swing to swing back. It's all a pendulum. You're swinging all the way in one direction right now, and as soon as you're ready, all things always happen in divine timing. So in perfect timing, you're going to get back in that elevator, and you're going to go back up all the way back up to the top, and it's just going to keep getting better and better from here. Know that. And know that you're the only one that can do what you came here to do. And you deserve to have all of those awesome high frequency experiences that are coming for you. They're all coming. It's just all being sorted right now. So it's not going to happen in the lower frequencies, because you don't have low frequency experiences on a high frequency, and you don't have high frequency experiences on a low frequency. It's like a bookcase where all the books are sorted by frequency. So whatever low frequency you're in right now, it's just because you're in a dip. You're not alone. You're never alone. This event is so important that all of the cosmos is here for us right now. Most of them are watching from the spiritual plane. But those of us that are incarnated into a physical body as a human right now in this physical plane, we are so blessed. We are so blessed to be here and have this opportunity. Don't give that up when you're so close. You're so close. And just every time that another thing happens that's negative, just thank God for the experience, and wave it goodbye, knowing that you're releasing it from your experience, and that it's going to be replaced by something high frequency and positive. And it's just going to keep happening, because that's how you change paths. When you go through your wilderness season and your dark night of the soul, it's like walking out into the woods. It's like if I just kept going right now, and I just kept going forward, with each step that I would take, I would be in even more darkness, right? And pretty soon I'd be lost in the backwoods behind my house, right? And the further I walked, each step that I take, I would be in even more darkness and even more lost and even further away from my house, right? So if you're looking at it as two paths in the woods, one is actually the path. That's what you're supposed to be on. That's your sacred timeline path with the highest frequency experiences, your top timeline, right? If you step off of that path, now you're one step off of that path. And you take another step, you're two steps off, and so on, right? The further you walk off of that path, the further away from that path you get. And eventually, you're on your opposite polarity timeline. You're in the darkest part of the woods, where you're having all of the hardest, most challenging experiences that are the opposite polarity of the top timeline, because you're essentially on your bottom timeline, because you're as lost as you could get, right? Once you finally become consciously aware of that and start taking steps off of that lowest timeline path and working your way back towards your highest timeline path, with each step that you take, you're getting closer to that highest timeline path again, and you're getting further away from the lowest timeline path. But it takes some time, depending on how long you are walking, in the wrong direction per se, which nothing is ever wrong, and that's a whole nother concept in itself. Everything happens for a reason. But everything happened to get you to the higher frequency experiences. So just keep going, and don't give up. And with each passing day, with each passing moment, with each step that you take, know that you're getting closer to your higher timeline path, especially if you continue releasing things that aren't a frequential match for you. Look at it like you're a hot air balloon, okay? And by going up in frequency and staying in high frequency, everyone around you gets lifted up, because you're a hot air balloon and you're in a higher frequency than them, and you're rising and going up and pulling them up with you, right? But when these dips happen, it's faster and more efficient if we just release everything but God. Because if you look at it like you're a hot air balloon, then you can rise up above the timeline that you were in, but you're suspended in the air kind of in between that and the timeline that is above you that you're supposed to be rising up all the way into, right? So instead of being in one or the other, you're kind of suspended in between the two, because you're essentially tethered down to that lower path with all these people, places, and things that are from that lower frequency timeline that are essentially like ropes onto you, holding on to you and weighing you down and not letting you rise up far enough to fully enter into that higher timeline, which is above you, right? So you have to cut all those cords so you can rise up all the way. And the fastest way to do that is to just have faith in God and know that everything's going to be okay. You're not going to lose. You can't lose anything that's meant for you. You can't, okay? So instead of trying to hold on to everything, just have faith in God and just release everything except for God. And then you're going to shoot up really fast to that higher timeline and then reconnect to everyone that you love that did the same, that's also there, that didn't let other things weigh them down and keep them suspended in between the two or anchored down into that lower one. And now you'll all be in the higher timeline and you'll be on the path that you're meant to be on. I like thinking of the very famous quote, attachment is the only form of suffering, because that's so true. You know, and when you're feeling suffering, it's almost always going to be because you're attached to something that causes suffering. That's literally how that works, you know. Or being in attachment in the way that you are is actually lowering your frequency and putting you like in lack, right? Instead of being in abundance and love and peace and truth, right? So just see it as that, you know, I'm causing suffering because I'm holding on to a bunch of stuff that I shouldn't be holding on to. Release everything except for God, and have faith that God will pull you back up, and it's just a matter of time, and all things happen in divine timing. And each step that you take, because you didn't give up and you just kept going, every step you take, you're going to keep rising up more and more until you're firmly on that new penthouse floor on your sacred timeline, where all the epic stuff that you signed up for is, all the really amazing experiences that you came for, that you had to have the more challenging experiences to evolve and grow to become your actual highest self and fully embody your highest self, which is what's required to live on that timeline, right? And that's all the stuff that you went through all that other stuff for. So don't give up before you experience all those higher frequency things. All of the cosmos needs you to be on your higher timeline and be on your, you know, be the embodiment of your highest self, because that's how you put out this siren. Must have significance, because I almost never hear sirens here, so I don't know if you can hear it or not, but there's actually a siren right now somewhere. But don't give up. When you embody your highest self, your heart chakra, the light in you, the love in you is going to radiate out so far that it's going to actually interdimensionally bleed in a positive way into all of the cosmos and actually uplift all of the universe, just because of you not giving up and you continuing to rise up into just being you. That's all you have to do, is just be you. Only you can. This is what you came here to do. This is what you're here for. And I tried to say this in the fastest way possible, and I'm sorry that it took me so long. I hope that you're still listening. I'm sure that if you needed the message, that you are still here. And just know that the beings that are trying to stop you, you know, it's a mixture of things. You know, they may be jealous because they know how great your future is, and they know that they can't live that life because that's your life. And they also may be trying to stop you from saving all the people that you're going to save just by being you. And it's their mission. You know, we all have our own missions, and just like it's your mission to help free people and heal people and save people, it's their mission to prevent you from doing that, right? But also view it with an attitude of gratitude and love. Always do all things within the Sacred Heart, and always maintaining an attitude of gratitude. And know that before we came here, we made promises to each other and to ourselves. And we have soul contracts with some of these other beings that put us through particularly challenging experiences. And it's because you had to survive that challenging experience to remember who you are and to know your power. And that was the only way that you were going to do that. So they may not even have known the specific details of what it was going to be. And if they had, they probably didn't want to do that either, especially not as their higher self. But they're most likely living life right now as a lower frequency version of their self that maybe isn't even capable of really loving their self for you. And so they agreed to do this thing for you. Everything happens for us. Truly, it really does. Everything happens for us. And they agreed and signed a soul contract promising to do that for you, because that's what you were going to need to actually wake up and become your highest self and actually grab hold of the life that you're meant to live and to be you. And so they did that for you to help you reach this point that you're really close to right now, if you just keep going. So just, put out an attitude of gratitude for everything that happened. Know that every human being that comes here signs up for the experience that we have, and we choose the different people that we wanted to have in our life, and we choose the different beings that we wanted to connect with, because that's what we wanted the most. That's, and sometimes it isn't the exact experience that we experienced if it was a low frequency experience, but what it led to is what we wanted, and to us it was worth it. So even if you feel like nothing could be worth what you're going through right now, know that what you have up ahead on your higher timeline path, it absolutely was worth it to you, because that's why you agreed to it. So whatever you can imagine in your mind that would make this worth it, that's what you have coming in the future for you, because we chose our experiences and we create our experiences based off of our essence. That's why we asked for what we asked for. That's why it mattered to us and was important to us. And then we build it with our thoughts, actions, and words. So know that it will balance out, because there is balance, and what's coming for you is going to make all of this that you experienced before and now more than worth it. And you're going to be so happy. You're going to be so happy, because it's going to be perfect for you, because it's your life that you chose. So it will be perfect for you. And you're going to actually experience heaven on earth, and you're going to help anchor that down and help lead others to their heaven on earth just by living in yours and being you. So don't give up. Just keep going and just have faith. I love you so much, and God loves you so much. God loves you so much that He's experiencing what you're experiencing right now with you while being inside of you. God is always within you. Never forget that. And have a great night. And maybe go out and look at the stars, or go out and look at the sun, and just see God around you, because God is within you and also all around you in everything that is living. And know that. And know that even when you're in the darkest darkness, you're not alone, and it's actually a good thing, because it means that you're getting ready to enter into your time of the brightest brightness that you experience, and it's just going to keep getting better from there.